Hey guys, I'm FatBuddyCat, and this is the O-MB200. This mini bike comes with a lot of different titles. This one is very rare. This is the Stampede. I don't know that I've ever seen another one. But I'm pretty sure you guys have seen something similar. Maybe a Baja, maybe a Warrior, a Massimo, Baja Heat, Baja Carbon. I think there's a Baja Mini, a 165 version, and this is the 200. I bought this as a Baja Classic. So here's what we got for $250. Let's take a closer look. We might as well start right back here. This mini bike has a completely flat rear tire. It's in really good shape, but it's popped and it's been sitting with this flat side for quite some time now. The brake wasn't hooked up, so I assumed that something maybe was missing or was broken. I hooked up the cable and everything seems to be in working order. When you use the adjuster, it even changes the tension like it's supposed to. There's a few scratches over here. I think this thing went down on its side, but not much else. In the middle of this bad mamma jamma is a completely stock 196 clone. This one appears to have very low hours, and if you look at the springs, I don't see a lot of oxidization or rust. The armatures move very smoothly. The threads on the end of the carburetor studs don't look like they've seen too much work. Yeah, I'm not sure what this is, but it looks stock. Up front, all the wires seem to be plugged in just like you'd get it at the store, Tractor Supply or wherever. Here, this says Baja. Okay, so this probably is a Baja Classic. 11/13. So Christmas of 2013, somebody got this bad little bike. I'm going to assume something happened and parts just started coming off of it and it never ran again. Let's look at the other side. I just went to move it and the handlebars are a little bit loose. These grommets or whatever they put in there Could have dried out or something. So probably just put a little torque thunder on those nuts under there and that'll tighten up. Let's keep going. We're almost there. Alright. Let's get down to business. Let's also get this throttle cable, which might be usable, out of the way. And here is the stock jack shaft. It did not come with the cover or a clutch or the primary chain. We have chain and a master link. I ordered a clutch, and this has a funny output shaft where instead of being threaded on the inside and having a bolt that would be traditional and like everything else that's made, they used this threaded section. I went and got the M12 1.25 castle nut that's going to go on there and a new cotter pin. So when we get those parts, we'll go brand new right there. This tensioner, believe it or not, is all here. Maybe. I'm not sure how the adjuster works. It looks like that should actually push up against something. Okay. Well, it's probably going to work anyway. Besides that, everything seems to be there. That never came off. It even has this little exhaust shield that they add to these. The muffler is in really good shape. I mean, look at the... Alright. Usually these show rust just from heating up a few times. They'll start to oxidize. A little bit along the side, but nothing terrible. Let's say that valve cover is never coming off. Alright. You guys think it's got oil in it? Yup. Look at it, it's not even bad either. Well, it has like a tint to it. So this either has an additive, something like a royal purple, or this motor came brand new and it had that oil in it from the factory that may have contained assembly lube. That hasn't even been broken down, so that's a really, really good sign. Out back, I don't even think the adjusters have been touched. They're in the full forward position and the chain is just perfect. I mean, look at this guard, you know. The fenders aren't cracked. A few of the reflectors are missing and broken, but on the other side, somebody may have gone down one time on this. Maybe that's all it took. Unfortunately, that really cool storage box is missing. pretty neat because we're going to try to keep a stock gas tank on this thing. Huh. It's actually just this one. I thought this one was missing too. Is that one broken? Nope. The fenders, as ugly as they are, they seem to be complete. Oh yeah. Ready? Yeah, she's got compression guide. Booyah. Since this mini bike turns out to be so complete, I think it would be really cool to give it a bit of a mechanical restoration. It'll also let us get a base line on this thing so we can see what it can do. I'm going to go ahead and start with the most difficult repair, and that is this rear tire. I'm going to have to drop the chain, disconnect my drum brake, and remove the axle to pull the wheel off. On this drum brake, just took off the adjuster and pulled it out of the arm there. Now all I have is this one nut down here, and that separates the arm. That is now completely free. Let me go over the other side. I'm going to find that master link. Ooh, look, there it is right there. That was easy. I should be able to nab it. If not, I'll roll it down here and get it somewhere. Got it. I'm going to take this thing, I'm going to toss it in an old coffee tin and spray it down with some lubricant. Seriously, it doesn't have to be anything fancy. Just trying to revive this thing a little bit. It's not that bad. I think this thing, yeah, it's on a bracket. You can kind of see where it's bent right here. A little torque thunder on that. I can get that back. A little bit better. At least it won't vibrate off anything. This nut took a little work to break loose, but I don't think that's ever been touched either. I used a drift pin to start my axle through, put the bike on a jack, and pulled my axle out the other side. All the spacers and everything are right there. Now I have our rear wheel off. This axle was giving me a little bit of trouble at first, so I started thinking, flat tire, disconnected brakes. Oh no, it's probably bent. Not the case. Right here was a sticker that was stuck inside, up underneath the spacer, up against the bearing. So when I was pulling it through, it was real tight. It says something about strike using full mallet, approved safety goggles, discard if damaged. I don't think that's damaged at all. We just have a flat tire. Now we got to get it off that wheel. From this side, we would have to take the sprocket off to get the tire off and on. Over on this side, I think we just have to get, the old drum brake cover off. Okay, so it's got bad brake shoes. Oh well, we can work with that. What we can definitely work with is this side of the wheel to get our tire off and on. That's awesome. Here is the issue that I had with this tire. This is a dry rot section that has split where this has been sitting upright for a long time. I'm going to need something to pry this off. I might be able to break the bead somehow. Sometimes if your vise is big enough, you can get it in there and squeeze the tire and it'll bust them off. I actually went ahead and removed the sprocket because my friends at O-MB200.com sent me a brand new replacement tire. It's a lot easier to go down to my local shop and have them put it on, especially where it's so cold outside. Now we have an option. This is the sprocket that I took off of this wheel. This is the sprocket off the back of the Trailmaster. It's the same pattern, except it seems to have less teeth. These MB200 style mini bikes have a stock final ratio of 10. With the 46, we'll get 9.2. It's not an incredible difference. With the stock 50, these are notorious for maxing out at 25 miles per hour, and basically that's all you're going to get. If you add a modified motor, I heard that they have a lot of torque with the 50 that might not be necessary. If we go to a torque converter, that might change. With the jack shaft, we're going to swap for that 9.2 ratio. I'm going to get that 46 on there. Alright, got this all tightened up, and I'm trying to keep this somewhat interactive. I went over to the Baja Hangout, which is a Facebook group. I'm going to keep links in the description. And I went on there and I just threw out a post saying what I had for options, what I was planning on doing. And just like that, I received an answer from this fella Nate. So thank you, Nate. And pay attention to the community, guys. Get on board. It's a lot of fun. Next, we're going to flip this thing over and take a look at our brake. We're going to be changing out these bearings, but before we do that, we're going to clean up this drum section a little bit. It's really not all that rough. I've seen them a lot worse. I'm going to try to get in here with a piece of steel wool and just clean this heavy out. After the steel wool, I just went around with some rough sandpaper and scoured up the inside of my drum, paying close attention to the surface that's going to come in contact with our shoes. I just happen to have 2 of the right size bearings. I'm going to open these seals up and pack them with some grease. We'll replace the stock units. Nothing fancy here, just using this drift pin, an old axle, and a hammer to bang these bearings out. They're not in terrible condition, just like everything else on this mini bike, but they're old, they're dried out, and they've been sitting a long time, not moving. So we'll get rid of those, put new ones in. Before I do that, I'm going to address any damage that I did to my spacer. Probably grab my Dremel and a burr or a stone, clean up the edges, make sure the face is flat. That's all. Alright. My bearings are packed with grease. I'm going to wipe them down. I'll stick one of them in, and then I'll put in my spacer now that it's ready to go. Beautiful. My mechanical drum mechanism itself isn't broken. We did have an old shoe that came detached. So, I'll keep this for a spare part, just to be safe. My friends from O-MB Warehouse sent me a brand new unit and some shoes. We might as well do a little product review, because this replacement is better than the factory one. I'll show you why. Right off the bat, I noticed one of these posts is different. This one is just flat on the sides, so that this part of the shoe can go up against it. Well, this replacement from O-MB Warehouse not only has the flat sides, but also this cap. And what that's going to do is rest on top of the brake shoe. These already came with the springs, so I'll be able to install them and do a side-by-side comparison. If you look on the inside, like right here, next to where the post is, you can see that this one comes with more reinforcement. So, This is a really great deal for $33. Came with the shoes. The shoes alone are about 18 to 20 bucks. They do make another one. I forget if they're EDC or EBC, but they have a little bit different design and it's considered an upgrade. We might have to source those out, but these definitely look better than what we were working with over here. Let's see if everything fits. With the shoes installed, you can see a few differences in the castings, but I think once this is on, it's going to sit the same. When I was looking at this one, I was kind of thinking, where would dirt, water, and particulate, brake dust and such go? There's really no place. I believe this little relief right here is for that reason. That's pretty nice. Here is the stock unit. And here is the replacement. Seems to be lining up. Now, we're ready to install this wheel assembly. Back at the axle, I make sure I have my adjuster on, and the small spacer, meaning the shorter of the two, is going to go on the sprocket side. Now that the wheel is on, I added my nut. We're going to have to make sure the stock chain still fits. We dropped 4 teeth off. So I have it over here marinating. I'll pull it out, wipe it down with an old towel or something. Okay, well, it's a good thing I was checking my alignment. I pulled this tensioner out of the way so that I could freely spin this sprocket, and it does not freely spin. The impact gun isn't even budging this castle nut. So, even if I get that off, I do not have the bearings to rebuild this at this point in time. Nor do I feel like ordering another one or trying to find another one and waiting for the mail. So, sorry Nate, I'm going to be putting the 50 tooth back on before I tighten my rear wheel, because we're going to fit a torque converter. That isn't quite as straightforward as we'd like it to be. Grr. We'll just keep moving on with the rear brake installation as we're getting this wheel on. This bolt is for the anchor. These came from the stock unit. Alright, this one is the one that goes there, and you'll need the adjuster to connect the cable, and there's also a nut and bolt for this armature that controls the whole mechanism. My anchor was missing the stock hardware, so I just found a nut and a washer that fit and put a new cotter pin through it. That's all it takes. And then you just hook up your factory adjuster, and we'll set it right about there for now. Since I'm going to be doing the torque converter swap right off the bat now, I'm just going to tighten the axle where it's at so we can test this brake out. I got it to work. However, I'm pulling that brake all the way in. That means I have to caulk the arm so that it starts further into the action. That will shorten the adjuster, and we'll actually get better adjustments out of this once that's set. Actually, I think we have to go up, because if we turn this way and we're pulling the cable that way, we'll be taking length out, and we should pick it up at the handle. I'll give it a shot. I just got to loosen this nut and bolt, pull it out a little, and twist it around and figure out where it goes. Check it out. That's definitely stopping. Looking a lot better up here. We still have adjustment at the handle and back here on the brake itself. Now I have to figure out if this bolt is supposed to be tight or if it's just some sort of a anchor bolt that holds everything in place. It's got some sort of a weird looking, I don't know, crown nut thing on it, and I don't think I see any more thread on the bolt itself. It might be kind of like this one. Hey, if it works, when you pull the handle, it gives you varying grippage. Does it go that way? No, it would go this way, right? Various expansion. So as you grip, this thing expands and pushes the shoes up against this drum. So the more you grip, the tighter it gets, the harder it pushes the shoe to the drum, and that's what gives you varying stopping power. Pretty cool. Learned a lot about this little thing. I'm kind of glad I started with the new unit. Like for instance, when you put this arm on, You see how it's kind of dog boned one way or the other? Well, that makes a difference on the offset for the adjuster in the cable. If I have that turned the other way, then it forces it in towards the hub, towards the wheel. So we want it to be kind of in the middle and right where it's at. As far as this bolt, it goes through and it actually holds it in that channel in between the two spline pieces. So when that bolt's in there, it makes it hard for this to come out. So even if this loosened up, it wouldn't necessarily fall right off. That's pretty swift. Sitting on the bike, if I squeeze it, I cannot move it. The back tire is completely locked up. So, without it being rideable right now, I'd have to call that a success. O-MB Warehouse takes really good care of me when I get myself into these situations. They also have available the stock replacement brake cable. This thing is very durable. This is the other reason I like this brake system. It's very simple and it's very rugged. They also sent me a brand new throttle cable. You know we're going to need that. As well as a bunch of other really cool parts. In the next video, we're going to pull the motor and prep this thing for a torque converter. Because as always, it's a work in progress. Have a good night, guys. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you on the next one.